Protests are happening in cities all across Iran. President Trump says he's been told plans for executions there have stopped, even as Tehran signals fast trials and executions are ahead.
Activists say the death toll from protests has risen to more than 2,500. Some restrictions have been eased, allowing mobile phone calls abroad. The satellite internet service Starlink is offering free service to help people attempting to share protest footage. Outside the country, international reactions continue, with other nations summoning Iranian ambassadors and announcing sanctions in response to the crackdown.
So joining us to dive deeper into what's going on is Wendy D'Souza. She teaches at UC Berkeley and is a scholar of modern Iranian and Middle East history. Thanks so much for joining us. A lot of people, this is popping up and they don't have historical context. So give us some historical context. How did we reach this point?
Yes, thank you so much for shedding a light on this issue. So what we're witnessing in Iran today is the convergence of decades of political repression and government corruption, combined with the effects of U.S. sanctions on ordinary people. Just to give your viewers a background, in 1979, there was the Islamic Revolution, which resulted in the breaking of U.S.-Iran relations and U.S. sanctions on Iran. And these sanctions were ramped up in 2018 during President Trump's first term. They were called maximum pressure sanctions. And they have not really achieved any policy objectives. Rather, it has really harmed ordinary people. It's led to health crises, inflation, and really what it's done is it has enriched the core of the Islamic Republic, which are the Revolutionary Guards and the Supreme Leader, who have amassed great fortunes because of the sanctions economy. So it's really bolstered that, and you have that power being pitted against ordinary people who are having a very difficult time feeding their families, working, and basically just going about their daily affairs. And when you combine that with the political repression of the government, it really leaves the Iranian people no way to mediate this power. And so they take to the streets in order to express their political grievances.
So how is this protest different than others in the past? You mentioned it's 1979. Can you talk to us about that, how this is different?
Yeah, that's a great question. There have been protest movements since 1979, women's rights movements. In recent memory, of course, we had the Women, Life, Freedom movement, which did actually achieve some aims, some really interesting civil rights aims. One of them was that the hijab, or Islamic head covering, is no longer policed or mandated by the government. So there were some successes with that movement. At the same time, what we're seeing now, because this is primarily, or at least it started as a protest about the economic crises, right? The rial, which has plummeted and is at a historic low. We see, many people who are really concerned about the government in general, and I think as it started as a economic sort of protest, it's expanded. And now includes, all sorts of grievances. And what's been more sort of concerning about this protest in particular that started on the 28th of December is that as it's grown, it's taken on a more violent character, which is unprecedented. The majority of Iranian protests over the past 2 decades have not actually been violent on the part of on the civilian side, but now we're seeing a much more active and violent sort of response to government forces. And I say also because we've seen 147 Iranian security policemen have been killed, which is a very high number, which suggests that there are more violent clashes between protesters and the government. But I also want to just mention, to be clear, the violence is extraordinarily on the side of the state and uses it to put down protesters, and that's why we've seen Over 2,400 people have been confirmed dead since over the past 2 weeks.
All right, Wendy D'Souza, thank you so much for joining us live and shedding light on all of that and giving us insight. Thank you so much. Iran is among 75 countries. The U.S. is suspending immigrant visa processing. Other countries include Afghanistan, Russia, and Somalia. The Trump administration says it's for those who they say are likely to require public assistance while living in the U.S. The ban is expected to begin on the 21st. It's unclear how long it will last. The ban does not apply to student or temporary tourist visas.